in the public school system, to know that there are Native people in the state of Maine, to know that Maine has a Native history, and to appreciate what's around them. And you know, the lack of knowledge is the biggest hang-up in the state of Maine. When children in schools are taught about Western tribes and not know anything about tribes of Maine, it's doing them a disservice. So the Passamaquoddy tribe wants children around the state to know, well, there's a Passamaquoddy culture here, proud people, they're survivors. They survived the last 10,000 years. They survived the plagues of the 1600s. They survived the wars of the 16 and 1700s. And we're still here. So we want them to know and appreciate the Native history in this state.
When we first started our work on the commission, we brainstormed ideas, facts, concepts that we wanted all Maine children to know as a result of the 291 legislation. And there was a long list of things that we called our concentrated areas of study. And John Bear and I both kept saying over and over again, we've got to get this integrated into the learning results, because at that point in time, Maine teachers, Maine educators were very involved in trying to implement the 1997 Maine learning results and the local assessment system. And I know how busy teachers are, and I wanted to be sure that this wonderful information that we were identifying really was going to be taught. So I kept saying how it really needed to be part of the learning results. And I'm also delighted that we are developing and we're identifying resources for teachers, because I think that's been a real issue. Teachers wanted to teach the things that were required in the law, but didn't have the resources lots of times. So I think conferences like this one, plus so many other things that have been developed since then, have been wonderful to help us begin to implement the real ideas that are in the law.
If I am familiar enough with a story, I like to tell a story to the kids. And for some reason that just, they enjoy that if it's done orally and not just, you know, the read aloud version. It's more powerful, and that's when I don't know if it's because I'm enjoying what I'm doing and kids are picking up on that, but I really think that that's very powerful for them.
Stories, you mentioned stories, that brings kids to a certain place. I think when you're telling or reading these stories, are they making connections from morals, lessons, values within the stories?
Yes, they are. They are. They're learning a little bit about themselves. They are making those connections, like, oh, with other stories as well, or within themselves, you know.
But also we had to kind of gear it towards our cultural people. You know, in the community, not everybody knows everything. And so each one of the cultural people that were hired had a little niche, had a certain knowledge base. Pam Cunningham, who's a master basket weaver, did a unit on basket making, and so on. So we kind of geared towards those folks. And we also wanted to look at kind of what's also out there in society that people are curious about in the tribes. They might have a small understanding of it, but they really need to know more about it, like the land claims or even a powwow. What's a powwow? And so in the case of the powwow, we did a unit called Performing Arts, where we look at what a modern day powwow is, but then we back it off and say, well, that's what you might see at a powwow today, but here's some traditional Penobscot music and dance and dress. And so it's kind of attacking it from both sides.
that really was the time in the legislature that I felt really starting thinking about this education bill. It was amazing how the other legislators had no idea about anything about Maine natives, about our history. And you know, it was eye-opening to sit there at the Judiciary Committee and hear testimony from Native women on the offensive names and how they felt about that offensive name.
Well, LD 291 was passed before the new Maine learning results were passed. And as a result of LD 291 being on the books, a lot of resources have been developed or identified, evaluated, that teachers can use in implementing the new Maine learning results. When LD 291 was passed and we had our previous Maine learning results, the things that were in 291 actually were part of the learning results, but they weren't explicitly stated. So teachers didn't begin the process of implementing them to the extent that they might have. But in that time period, when after 291 was passed, we started developing resources or identifying resources. And now that we have the new learning results and they explicitly state to teach Native American Studies, Maine Native American Studies, we have some resources that we can begin doing it.
I don't know if I have any big moments. It's a lot of moments where kids will come to me and we'll be doing another lesson about French or Spanish or something, and they'll make some connection. As far as working with adults, it's when I get those follow-up emails, they want to know more. They were shocked, amazed that they didn't know very much, and that now they're on track to learning more about LD 291 and Maine natives.
Great. That was excellent. I think we had a lot in that one. Thank you. That was great. Appreciate it. Very good. Do you believe it's important for Maine students to learn about Wabanaki culture and history?
Absolutely. I think with the kids, like things like place names, they find that fascinating. The history is very important for them to know, and it makes them look at history differently. I found that as a teacher, I teach social studies differently now because it is a different point of view. I tell my kids when they leave me in 4th grade, if they can look through somebody else's eyes, then I've done my job.
So, to close, could you tell me why this is important for the students of Maine?
Well, it's not only important for the students of Maine, but it's important for everybody, for the governmental process, for just people knowing about things, for how the majority culture looks at us, perceives who we are, for how down the road they'll be treating us. I think I view this bill as even more important futuristically than the land claims ever was.